Hello and welcome back to the Warhammer 3 news. I'm COLONELDAMNEDERS and today we're back with more Ogre Kingdoms info. Now last week we went over their roster, but there were a few units missing. Fortunately today we've received a blog containing all of the details we were missing, so we can fill in anywhere we've missed. Now if you want to check out that video first to see the in-game models, then I'll leave a link in the card. So with all that being said, let's get into the roster. Now last week we saw the stats for Scrag the Slaughterer, but we never found out too much about Greasus. As the fattest in a faction of fat guys, he rolls around the battlefield on a custom-made mobile throne pushed by Noblars. He wields a scepter in one hand and a leg of meat in the other, and both can be used defensively as he's rolled around. He also eats from his leg, so may possibly have some sort of regeneration abilities stemming from this. I would imagine that Greasus functions similarly to Grom, in the sense that he rolls around the battlefield and is very hard to pin down once he gets going due to his large weight. He'll likely be more of a sustained battler, since I doubt Noblars can get up to too much speed, and of course he has to be tanky as hell, being so large and in charge. Now he also has a couple of abilities. Everyone Has Their Price causes nearby enemy units to rethink their place in battle whilst being sprinkled with gold. I would guess this is a leadership debuff in an area of effect around Greasus. And the Scepter of Titans, which grants him massive buffs to his power, especially when taking on other ogres. Now for the generic lords, starting with the Tyrants. The Tyrants are the biggest and strongest in their tribes, and they report only to the Over-Tyrants. They are powerful brawlers and are as deadly with their fists as they are with weaponry. These will be your standard frontlines attackers that are super tanky and do a ton of damage. We also found out a little more here about our ogre battle abilities we learned about last week. They require you to take out retreating enemies to fill up the meter, so taking some sort of Warhounds unit to melt abandoners will be a great move. Now we already covered those abilities and their effects, as well as a bunch of brand new battle changes last week, so check out that video for all of that. Our other lore types are the Slaughter Masters. These are the butchers of ogre society, and are sometimes more ruthless than tyrants in their eternal quest to feed themselves and the tribe, and of course the Great Maw. They are another tanky frontlines battler, with more of a focus on taking on large groups of enemies rather than dueling, since their long sweeping attacks can take on a number of weaker foes. They will also have the choice of the Law of the Great Maw and the Law of Beasts. Onto the heroes now, starting with the Ogre Hunters. Hunters are experts at taking on beasts and keeping themselves alive against all odds. They normally live a solitary life, so excel at taking out key large targets one-on-one, even if they don't look like they should have the advantage. They can also utilize Stonehorns as mounts, which will give them a massive boost into pretty much everything, and change them into frontlines tanks. Butchers are basically Slaughter Masters in training that haven't quite risen high enough yet. They're constantly covered in blood anyway, and in battle, they'll only fight more, since they will perform similarly to Slaughter Masters, though likely weaker in most ways. And they can still choose from these same two laws of magic to make for great support heroes. But if I had the choice between them or Firebellies, I think I know what I'd go for. Pairing a Slaughter Master and a Firebelly to get two super strong laws will be the way to go for me. Now we did learn about Ogre Bulls, but what we didn't know is that they have two other variants: dual weapons, which give them a bonus versus infantry, and Iron Fists, which give them more armor, melee defense, and a shield. Iron Guts are another type of ogre infantry, and they boast the best armor and weapons of all ogres. They carry two-handed weapons, which allow them to deal a ton of armor-piercing damage, similar to greatswords. They're also heavily armored, so it'll be very tough to take out, even if they don't have missile defense. They seem to be something of a peak for ogre front lines. Man-Eaters are another unit we covered last week, but now we know that they have a few other variants aside from great weapons and pistols. Monstrous Infantry, which I would imagine are the basic units, and Iron Fists, which I would assume are tankier like the Bull Iron Fists. Now we saw the Stonehorn Harpoon launchers, but we also have basic Stonehorns that are more focused on the front lines. They deal immense damage, but will most likely go on rampages since they are basically feral beasts that ogres have managed to point in the right direction for a short time. They also are incredibly tanky, as they are partly made of stone, so don't worry if they get too bogged down. They'll take plenty of enemies out before they go down. And finally, we saw this unit on the Enter the World of video, and we've yet to see it in battle, the Iron Blaster. These fire multi-part cannonballs that can rip through units and take them out in a single volley, with immense amounts of armor-piercing damage. It has a huge weapon strength and can take on basically anything, since when you're hitting this hard, nothing can really stand to be in your size. There's a small ammo pool, so you'll need to choose your shots carefully, and once you're out, you can send it in as a sort of chariot, due to the Rhinoxes underneath being so damn strong to pull it around. And that is just about everything we have for now on the Ogre Kingdoms roster. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite unit is, leave a like if you did, and consider subscribing to see more videos like this. If you enjoy the content and want to support it, then head on over to COLONELDAMNEDERS.store. We're about to launch that Christmas line, so definitely keep your eye out for that, it is incredibly exciting. Also, consider supporting us by becoming a member on YouTube, a patron on Patreon, or a subscriber on Twitch. Doing so gets you shoutouts such as It's Your Boy LC for their support at the Unclean Ones tier. Thank you to all supporters, thank you for watching, and for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS. Now we'll see you next turn.